Do you need help in your relationship? Or maybe your relationship is going great and you just want to strengthen the bond between the two of you. In any case, tune in to Ask Mama E, a show intended to assist in creating and keeping the strongest relationships. Join and watch Mama E, the relationship expert, using her wisdom to guide others into forming stronger bonds.
Hi there, this is Mama E. Thank you again for joining us for our relationship discussions. I try to bring you topics that I believe are relevant, things that, are ageless, if you will. It doesn't matter whether or not someone experienced it in their latter years or if you're a young couple just beginning to experience some of those things that perhaps are normal to me. So my assignment is to do whatever I can to encourage healthy marriages. I know that when I began this ministry over 20 years ago, the divorce rate was extremely high. And even though now I look at statistics and it appears that the divorce rate has gone down, but I don't know. I think that perhaps it's lower because the marriages are also lower. In other words, if you don't get married, you don't get a divorce. But today I just wanted to share some of the things that I have learned along my 50-year journey. That doesn't mean that I did it all right, doesn't mean that I know it all, but I am convinced that going there can't tell been there how to get there. Okay, so those things that I have learned both from experience and from intellect and knowledge, all of those things hopefully can help someone else. Okay, so that being the case, today let me try to share with you what I'm going to call some relationship aids. Some things that might just be able to help you along your journey. Okay, so I want you to think about how many people, and if you're perhaps even one of those people who have entered into relationships or have stayed in relationships based on your feelings. Okay, your feelings, can be fickle. You can wake up one morning feeling terrific and midday decide that you don't like what you liked that morning. So I guess if I could caution you, it would be to not make all of your life decisions based on how you're feeling. Many times when I talk to people who have decided to leave their relationships, to back away from their marriages, what I get so often as a reason for leaving the marriage is I just don't feel in love anymore. And I'm not necessarily saying that that doesn't exist, that it doesn't happen, that you don't feel it anymore. I'm not in love with her anymore. All of that, I think, is possible because in our humanness, we make these decisions based on how we feel. I am now convinced at this stage of my life that marriage cannot be based totally on how I feel. So I want you to give some thought today to what it was that you utilized in making your decisions for the relationship you're in. Whether you're in a long-term relationship, it might be that you are not married per se, but you have lived for quite a while in a situation that's similar to, that looks like, that mimics marriage. So I want us to spend some time today talking about what it takes what might be beneficial to us in having strong, healthy relationships. I was thinking as I was preparing the lesson today, I was married initially, about 30 years, and then there was a break in the action, and my husband and I were separated / divorced for several years, and it was perhaps during that time that I found that I actually started to learn things that I had not invested in before. I think maybe because, if everything was going well, I guess I thought I knew what it took to have a good marriage. And it wasn't until things changed, when the atmosphere changed, when the person that I was in the relationship with, my husband, decided that he wanted something different. And many of you have gone through those kinds of periods, those thoughts where you've decided, I just don't like this anymore, and I want something different. It was during that period that I started to evaluate what had I used as a mechanism for learning how to be a good wife. What am I saying? Who taught me? Was there a class at school? What about at church? In any of those vacation Bible study sessions, any of those Sunday school sessions, how many of you can perhaps agree, like with me, that I didn't have any classes? Now, I'd like to think that things have changed at least somewhat. Many of our churches now devote time to marriage ministry. However, many of us still don't see it as necessary. So we fall in love with someone and we think, well, that's really all that I need. So we're going to get married based on the fact that I love him. I love her. But if there were a test being given, and let me just interject that for most things in our lives, there are tests. They're to get just about any license, if you're going to be a long-distance truck driver, if you're going to be a plumber, if you're going to get a driver's license. There is usually a test involved that you must pass. Don't you think it's kind of interesting that we don't even invest that level of interest in trying to learn how to have this relationship, this bond that we're building that's going to be, if not eternal, if not everlasting, at least a long time. So why is it that we don't invest in knowledge? I was thinking that there is a scripture, and I believe it's in 1 Peter, but it says that husbands ought to dwell together with their wives according to knowledge, which kind of says to me that God is not opposed to education. When I say education, it doesn't necessarily mean schools. However, don't let me leave you thinking that schools are not necessary or, for that matter, are not beneficial, okay? But what I am saying is that in so many cases, we do not put the effort or the energy. I was saying to somebody, marriage takes work, and they said they didn't like using the term work. Well, whatever you want to call it, for the effort, the labor that ought to be invested in order for you to live together in an environment that's healthy and strong, if you will. If you look at where you want to be 10 years from now, 20 years from now, what are you doing now to make sure that when that time comes, that you have what you need to survive it? It's almost like planning for retirement. You know, if you didn't invest in your company's 401k, if you didn't make any plans for the day when you cannot or don't choose to work anymore, you have to start making plans for that when you're 25. You cannot wait until you're 62 to think about how you're going to survive when you are 62, okay? That same thing, I think, exists when it comes to relationships. You know, if that relationship includes a husband, wife, and the children, whatever makes up that nucleus that we call a family. The question to you today is, what have you invested in that? Have you built the family on a foundation that's strong enough to carry you forward past the young days when it just seems like, you know, just walking on the beaches is what love is? But the day will come when we change, we evolve. And what have you done to make sure the love is still strong then? When your interests in terms of life and the things you enjoy doing, when those things change, are you prepared for that? Okay, so as I looked at my own situation, I looked at the bookcases. My husband and I both enjoy reading, and I just kind of evaluated, what did I have on my bookcase? What had I invested in that apparently I thought was important at the time? And when I think back to what was on the bookcase, it was cookbooks, it was Oprah magazines, it was women's devotionals. There was any number of things that I had invested in at the time. And there was nothing wrong with what I had considered important at the time. However, because it had now become of interest for me to look at, what's my investment into this family? What did I spend money on to try to assure that my family had the best possibility of succeeding? Can I be honest? Can I tell you that at that time, there was little to no information on my bookcases that could have helped me in my marriage? Might I just suggest that you take a look through your house and see what's in there that you have read, a video that you bought from someplace. What's in there that you can point back to in terms of it giving you advice on how you might have the tools that you could then use to build this strong family? That you have the tools that you can use to be a good dad, to be a good mom. Now, most of us, me included, we used the role models of people that we were familiar with. You know, if you check yourself and you try to ask, who did I watch? Who did I learn from? A lot of times it was from mom and dad. It was from other family members. Many of us watched our neighbors, and we assumed that it looked like that was working for them. And so I think that now that I'm looking at getting married, I want to do like Uncle Joe did. Well, I'm not saying that having role models that you know or that you have watched or whatever is not good. I'm not suggesting that, but I'm just suggesting that that should not be everything that you utilize. So when I started looking at, after 30 years, why had I not considered it necessary, I guess. And so I'm going to go back to what most of you tell me. I'm getting married. I got married because I love him. Wonderful. That's a good start. And if that love is based on 1 Corinthians 13, where the Lord teaches us what love is, then great. However, let's be honest. Many of us, when we define love, it is based on an eros love, the love that I feel. You know, that's when I've got the butterflies and the bubbles. You know, it's like a Hallmark movie. I want that kind of love. So let's just be sure, though, as we go forward, that you need more than that. So all of this that I've said up until now is my introduction to what have you used, what do you use that can give you information. There is no excuse in 2022 for us not taking advantage of the various mechanisms and ways that we have to get information. All of us probably, I can't imagine anybody who doesn't know what Google is and use it frequently, so that the capability of your being able to get information that you did not have before. Might I suggest that, you know, I brought some of the books that I have acquired over the years, and I often think that if, when I got married, people had given me some of these books for wedding gifts as opposed to an iron or a toaster, the benefit of that would have been far greater. But now that I do know, now that I'm telling you, that means that you now have no excuse for not investing in help. All of the things that you thought you knew up until now, they were great and they were perhaps good for a beginning, but it's just not enough, okay? So what I thought I'd do then today is just kind of share with you some of the reading matter that I have accumulated over the years that I have found extremely helpful, and I can only hope that they will be beneficial to you. And if not, at least it will ignite your quest for information. Yeah, let's not just say, I don't need that. I can remember in various workshops and classes that I've taught where my brothers have said, oh, I don't really like to read, so I don't really want to buy the book. And I've said to them, but think about it. If on your job you were required to attend a class, you know, if you were required in that class to take home a workbook and do homework assignments, the chances are that you would, even if you weren't happy about it, you would comply. Why is that? Because you considered, number one, the consequence of not doing it, and then number two, the value of doing it. You know, if I take the class, I get to keep my job. If I don't participate, then there's a likelihood I'll be looking for work next week. So when we weigh the benefits versus the consequence of reading, of getting information, and all that get an understanding, learn how I can be better, how I can do this better. Okay, so that instead of saying that you don't like to do it, you might say that in the past, I have not, but I'm changing today. I am going to trust that there is information available that will help me be better. Okay? I can remember even suggesting to a male friend about books that were, I thought, helpful. And he says, well, I don't know that man or the person who wrote the book. And he puts his pants on one leg at a time, just like me. That a lot of times we say things, but so this is not based on how he gets dressed in the morning. It's based on whether or not he or she can share information with me that's going to aid me, that's going to help me. So what I'd like for you to give serious thought to, whether you're in a relationship where you're planning to be married, whether you're already married and you're in this house with someone and you all have a relationship that's closer to roommates than it is spouses, I want you to give some thought today to what you can do or what have you done in order to invest, to pour into this relationship. If you leave this one, and I share this often, so if you decide that you want a new man, a new woman in your life, that you just you're tired of this one, and you just don't feel anything anymore. All of those things that we say when we're getting ready to make our exit, I want you to think about what the investment will be in the new person. Let's be real. If you get introduced to or involved with the new person, you will invest money, all right, whether it be new clothes, new hairdo, because you've got to now impress the new person. Let's just be real and be honest with each other. And we're going to date, and those dates will cost money. We're going to invest in dinner and a movie, whatever we decide to do so that we can make the other person interested in hanging around. So if you are willing to spend $50 for a weekend with the new person, whoever that's going to be, you don't even know them yet, but whoever it's going to be, might I suggest that you use that $50 on this relationship? Can we put back into this one what we initially put into it? We often say that, whatever it took to get her, it will cost that to keep her. And I just think that we become lax sometimes. We become comfortable with what we have. And unfortunately, when we no longer have it, then we start to think about what I could have done differently. So Mama E's advice to you today is that you give some thought to what you can invest in the current relationship before you make plans for the new one, because you do realize that when Mr. New comes along, when Ms. Right comes along, it will require some investment. So we're going to continue our discussion, and I want to share with you some of the reading material that I've benefited from, that I have utilized. And by no means is this a conclusive group, that it's the only things that I've found. But we're going to spend our next session talking about some of the things that I found helpful after I recognized, after I woke up and realized that I didn't know everything. That watching the people who I thought were successful was not enough. I'm going to share with you some of those things that helped me get through the last 20 years of my relationship. And hopefully that by sharing the information, it will save you some of the pitfalls that just maybe there's something that somebody wrote that is just what you need to hear to assure that you'll be able to go forward in your relationship, that the relationship will be healthy and happy and strong, that your children will grow up in a house where they can actually use mom and dad as role models. Many of them are in situations where they couldn't really recommend the house that they grew up in or the houses that they live in now as advice for them to give their friends in terms of what a good relationship looks like. So we're going to take some time in upcoming sessions to really recommend some books, some quotes even from some of the books that I have used. And if you're not able to catch my video next time, start now. Google marriage relationships. Google happy home. What I just am convinced that there's a wealth of information. Also, don't be reluctant to attend workshops. You know, there's so many times we'll go to stuff if there's some food involved. But what I need for you to do is recognize the need for brain food. I need you to learn how you're going to successfully have the kind of marriage and families that you desire. Okay, so this has been Mama E. And again, it's not to indicate or even suggest that I have all the answers, but I have learned an awful lot. And at least I can send you to the one who thought of marriage in the first place. Okay? If all else fails, can I recommend Jesus? Can you go to our Father, who was the one who created this thing that we call marriage? I hope that you will set your notifications so that you can share with us in future discussions. I look forward to being able to share with you some of the information that has blessed me over my journey, okay? All right, so we're going to close for now. I'm going to look forward to sharing with you again real soon, where we'll talk more about the information that is available to you so that you too can have the kind of relationship that God says. He still says that marriage is honorable, and I choose to believe that. Okay? We're going to talk again real soon. This has been Mama E. We'll see you later.
Are you in the market to buy new appliances or to buy new furniture or a computer, but you are concerned about prices? Prices nowadays are simply astronomical, and you need to be able to purchase it low, but in a convenient way. Let me introduce you to the Maxwell Club. The Maxwell's Club will allow you to be able to purchase directly from the manufacturer. The price of Maxwell's Club is only $39.99 a year. You can shop with thousands upon thousands of manufacturers. Finally, you as the consumer have the power to purchase like some of the major companies. As a benefit of membership, you get discounts and perks around the world at places that you shop at. Sign up today. www.maxwells.club.
Are you looking for a state-of-the-art facility to have your latest conference or retirement party? Do you need a space that can accommodate small or medium-sized events? The HC Multicultural Center is the perfect place if you need to accommodate 20 to 150 people for an intimate celebration. Our facility has a cafe with a beautiful lobby with robust parking. We have a 15-foot LED wall and a digital sound system to accommodate for live recordings, not forgetting our sophisticated live stream, 4K, and 6K camera setup. If you need to accommodate 100 plus people for a large meeting, it is the perfect place for your multicultural event with a friendly staff waiting to serve your needs. When you want it done with class, do it with the HC Multicultural Center. Do you want to do a podcast? An actual video podcast, but don't have the equipment? Thought it would be impossible? Well, the impossible can become possible. Give us a call today. We can have your podcast on all of the major platforms in less than 3 days. Our staff is standing